Hi everyone, this is Sue Reynolds with the American Student Achievement Institute, and we are about to begin our webinar on guiding all kids. This is a systemic approach to school counseling. We will be launching this initiative next October, and we're right now just telling people about it and accepting applications from schools that might want to participate. So a little bit about our organization. I know some of you we've not worked with before. We are a nonprofit. We were founded in 2000 by Indiana school counselors. Actually, we started working in 1996, so we've been around for about 20 years, but we incorporated in 2000. We work nationally. There are schools in 39 states that are doing our Redesigning School Counseling Initiative, but we do most of our work here in Indiana, and we have a small office in Bloomington, but we have staff that work virtually from all over the state. So then our mission is very simple, very broad. It's to raise achievement and close achievement gaps. And our expertise is in data-driven systemic change. And actually, we learned about data-driven systemic change in an initiative that was very similar to the new counseling initiative that was just launched by Lilly Endowment. The initiative that we participated in was many years ago, but very same mission, very same kind of structure. But it wasn't open to all schools. Lilly handpicked the schools that they wanted to participate. There were 6 schools, and they took counselors that they were working with, and for 3 years exposed us to leaders in systemic change from the business community. So our Redesigning School Counseling model and also our new Guiding All Kids initiative is based on a data-driven change process that we adapted from the business community to an educational setting. So that's kind of our expertise. We like to do statewide initiatives, and we love bottom-up initiatives. So we like to take a concept and start working with schools who tell other schools. And before we know it, we have hundreds of schools that are implementing an initiative, and then we can go top up to look at policies and practices at the state level, at the policy level, to also support that initiative. So we're really big on making grassroots movements, which is what we're doing now with Guiding All Kids, as we have with Redesigning School Counseling. That kind of trickled up into Indiana Gold Star School Counseling. So, and then just a little bit about me. I do consider myself to still be a school counselor. I'm just in a different setting. Instead of practicing directly with kids in schools, I'm providing professional development for other counselors. So, but I still think of myself as a school counselor, and I always will. So I practiced for 20 years in the schools. I actually developed Redesigning School Counseling and Guiding All Kids when I was at Indian Creek High School, that's just south of Indianapolis. And during that time, I was privileged to be named the Indiana School Counselor of the Year and also the National High School Counselor of the Year by ASCA. And I always felt that it shouldn't be me that got that award, but it should have been all the folks in my school and my community who were implementing part of my school counseling program. So that's what we're really talking about today with Guiding All Kids. It's how to get others to be your worker bees so that we can get more activities to kids. So that was my experience in public schools. And then in terms of professional associations, I'm a huge believer in professional associations. I served as ISCA's executive director, the Indiana School Counselor Association, for 10 years. And then I also served for several years on the ASCA board. And I think one of the things that I'm proudest of in my professional career is that I made the motion to create the ASCA national standards while I was on the ASCA board, and kind of led the movement to do that. And then I also was kind of on the forefront of developmental school counseling. I proposed and then chaired ASCA's first comprehensive developmental school counseling task force. And then I also got to chair the ASCA National Leadership Development Institute. And that was really cool. We brought in the president and the president-elect from each state, and we basically taught them redesigning school counseling. We taught them how to do a data-driven school counseling program. And it's been really fun to see the presidents and the president-elects that participated in that institute who are now at the forefront in leading data-driven school counseling across the country. So that was really kind of cool. So I went to the Department of Ed and worked there for 10 years. I went there because I wanted to create state standards for school counseling. So during my years there, we created the student standards for guidance. We created Indiana's program standards for school counseling, which is what Gold Star is based on. And then we also developed the new licensing standards for school counselors. And then that all led into, when I was at DOE, we developed the Indiana Gold Star School Counseling Award for schools that had implemented the program standards. So, and then finally decided that I wanted to have the freedom to work on the things that I wanted to work on, and we founded the American Student Achievement Institute and have been doing initiatives with schools for 20 years now, and just love this work. Get to meet the neatest people and energetic people, and it's just lots of fun. So that's just a little bit about our organization and kind of what we bring to the table and who we are as people. So, okay. So now, as an overview, Guiding All Kids is a systemic approach to school counseling. In other words, it's not just a program, but we're looking at changing the entire school and the entire community. So it's an initiative where all students receive coordinated guidance and counseling from not just school counselors, but their teachers, from community organizations, from parents. It's a whole lot of different groups of adults working together in a coordinated way to guide kids. And as a result of a Guiding All Kids initiative, what we want to have happen is that we want all students to make sound choices in areas that support those 5 things. So I'll talk about those more in a minute. Let's look at a few definitions. I'll be using these terms during our time together, so I just want to make sure that we understand how I'm using these words. So guidance and counseling we view as the direct services that counselors provide for students. And we define guidance as the help that all students receive from parents, teachers, counselors, community members that help them make good choices in areas that impact student success. Key word there is all. We believe that just like all kids need math instruction, all kids need English language arts, we also believe that every single student in your building, without exception, deserves and needs academic, career, and social personal guidance. So guidance is for all kids. We also believe that there's a lot of folks that can provide guidance because in the guidance area we're more in teaching mode, and that there's lots of people that are capable of teaching kids, not just school counselors. Counseling, on the other hand, we define as the help that some students receive from credentialed professionals to address personal and or social issues that are interfering with their learning. So there's a couple of important parts of this definition. First of all, it's not for all kids, it's just for some kids. If your school is normal, about 1 out of 5 students will tell you that there's a social or a personal issue in their life that's interfering with their ability to learn. So counseling is not for all kids, it's just for kids that have those issues. Also, we don't feel that counseling should be implemented by just anyone. We think counseling is something that should only be done by credentialed people in a helping profession. So licensed school counselors, licensed school social workers, or licensed school psychs. And also because we are employed in a school setting, we think that our focus should be on helping kids to overcome those issues or address those issues so they can be better learners. Just like a career counselor would help people overcome an issue so that they could be better on the job. We're helping kids be better in school. So, okay, so guidance and counseling, those are the direct services. And then there's some indirect services. These are things that happen more behind the scenes. So one legitimate use of counselor time we think is advocacy. That's when counselors are standing up for a change that's needed in the school for a group of kids or for an individual kid. So if, for example, there's a course where students need to purchase some equipment in order to enroll in the course, and we know that the free and reduced lunch kids can't afford that equipment, then a counselor would be standing up to say, hey, wait a minute, we can't have that as a prerequisite. We need all kids to be able to enroll in this course. So advocating for an individual student or for a group of kids is one legitimate use of counselor time. It's an indirect service. And then the other indirect service is that counselors have to manage their own programs. They need to make their programs efficient and effective. And that involves professional development, it involves evaluation, and just day-to-day things like sitting down and writing passes so we can get kids in to see us. So all of that management stuff is an indirect service that we think counselors need to do. They have to manage their own programs. Okay. Then there's this other kind of activity that counselors do that we call non-program activities. So a non-program activity is something that is not guidance, it's not counseling, it's not advocacy or management. It really is an activity that has nothing to do with school counseling. But they are activities that have to happen in schools. Somebody's got to print the report card, somebody's got to do honor roll, somebody's got to do master scheduling. But we just want it to be clear that when school counselors are doing those things, then they're not doing school counseling. That's some other kind of task, but it's not a counseling or guidance task. So in some schools that we work with, when we do time task logs, counselors may be spending half of their time doing things that have nothing to do with guidance or counseling. And in those schools, they don't have full-time school counselors. Even though on paper it may say they do, they really have a half-time counselor. So we think it's important to define what these non-program tasks are, as well as the direct services and the indirect services. Okay, so the question is then, why do we need Guiding All Kids? Why is that important to even embark in this initiative? And why not just do Redesigning School Counseling, another initiative of ours that only looks at what school counselors do? So here's what our experience has been, both in my own practice and also the schools over the years that we've worked with. We find that school counseling services are usually very spotty. There tend to be 3 groups of kids that get services from counselors, and I'm talking about my own practice as well. I tended to serve the college prep kids because when I was busy, their parents would be saying to them, go see Mrs. Reynolds and make sure you know how to sign up for the PSAT, or go see Mrs. Reynolds and go find out about merit-based scholarships or whatever. So some kids had parents that would get them engaged and get them in front of me. Other kids were troublemakers, and it was their teachers then that referred them down to my office to talk with me maybe about an issue that was going on. And then some kids were special ed kids, and by law, those special ed kids have to have a conference every year where they receive academic guidance and career guidance. So, so there were 3 groups of kids that got a lot of services, but there were a whole lot of kids that got no services. And in my school, we started thinking about, that's not okay with us. We want every single student in our building to get services, but our time is limited, and we know our school doesn't have more, additional money sitting around to hire another counselor. So how are we going to do this? And again, our problem was that we didn't have enough counselors, and we had a lot of non-program activities assigned to us, which meant that we didn't have enough time to meet every student's needs. Okay, so our goal, as I mentioned, was to serve every student in the building, and we decided that all meant all. Our motto for our school counseling program was equal services, equal opportunities. If we did a campus visit for four-year colleges for one group of kids, then we made sure that we also supported apprenticeship program visits and career college visits. And just whatever we did for one group, we made sure that every single kid in the building had an equal opportunity. So equal opportunities, equal services. So okay, but that meant how were we going to do that when we had a small number of counselors for a gazillion kids and no money to hire additional counselors? So we came up with this program for Guiding All Kids, and this is something that I personally have been wanting to do with schools for a long time, but it takes a longer implementation period than just 1 year, and it takes some funding to develop and train people to deliver this program. So we've never been in a position until this recent Lilly initiative with a large number of schools to be able to talk about this new initiative, and we are just so excited to be able to launch this next fall. So what this is there's two parts to it. In the first part, we're doing strategic planning, where we're talking with the schools about creating an organizational structure, vision, goals, and priority goals. We're doing a root cause analysis. We're collecting a whole lot of student data and program data, and then we're defining what activities we want to put in place. So that's strategic planning. And really, the schools that have participated in redesigning school counseling with us have already done this first step. So if you're listening and you're from a school that has done RSE and has Gold Star, then your first step is already finished. If you're not, then next fall we would start with the strategic planning step, and you would actually earn Gold Star in the first year. Okay, so then after the strategic planning phase, then we'll move into activity delivery phase. And in that phase, in a traditional model, it would be only the school counselors that were delivering services. But in this new model, this non-traditional model, what we're going to do is bring other worker bees to the table. So we're going to put in place a teacher advisor program, a community-based guidance initiative, an academic integration with academic content, and then also a parent-based delivery system. So, and we'll do that over several years to get a coordinated, systemic guidance system in place. So the second phase there we're calling Guiding All Kids, and then Guiding All Kids can be with or without redesigning school counseling, depending on if you currently have Gold Star or not. So let's look at then the timeline just to kind of maybe make this a little bit more concrete. If your school does not have Gold Star, or if you're ready to renew Gold Star, so we know that your goals are out of date and your root causes and your activities are out of date, then this is the time frame that you'd be working on with Guiding All Kids. You would actually do RSC, or the strategic planning part, in first year. In first year, next year, at the end of next year, you would have earned Gold Star and RAMP. Then we'll go on into Guiding All Kids, and you'll do the community-based in year 2, you'll do the teacher advisor program in year 3, and then in year 4 we'd add in the academic integration and the parent-based guidance. So it's going to be step by step. Everything will come to you with lots of resources and lots of support from our staff. Then, if you already have Gold Star, so if you earn Gold Star after 2014, so 15, 16, or coming up, expected to earn it in 17, then basically what we're going to do is we're going to skip this first year, and we're going to move everything up a year and split academic integration and parent-based into 2 different years. So it would look like this. We would just start with community-based, then teacher advisor program, then academic integration, and then the parent-based. So, okay, so that's kind of the time frame, and for each of you, it may be a different time frame depending on if you have a current strategic plan, and we're judging that by how recently you did Redesigning School Counseling and Gold Star. Okay, I'm going to pause here real quickly. Let's see if we have any questions typed in. Debbie, anything so far?
No, we have no questions at this time.
Okay. So let me talk about these two parts. If you're already a Gold Star school, this part one I'm just going to kind of fly through. This will be a review for you. And if you're not a Gold Star school already, this will be new. So in that strategic planning phase that we call Redesigning School Counseling, where you earn Gold Star and the Ask a Ramp Award, this is what we would be doing in that first year. So first of all, our mission for Redesigning School Counseling is to increase the percentage of students who, and then experience social and emotional health, are successful at school, graduate from high school on time, enter post-secondary immediately following high school, earn post-secondary credential on time, and become productive members of the society in which they'll work and live. This has always been our mission, to enable kids to experience social and emotional health, to be academically successful, and to succeed in the global economy. So, but if you're familiar with the Lilly RFP, you'll see that this is also the aim of the Lilly RFP. When that RFP came out and we read it, we said, bingo, this is an exact match with what we do. So we haven't had to jump through any hoops or change anything that about us to match that funding stream. That funding stream matches exactly what we do. So, okay, so there's our mission. And then the goal for RSC, or the goal of this whole initiative, is simply to increase the percentage of targeted students who make targeted choices in areas that are going to impact those goals. So we're going to narrow this down into program goals that are all based on increasing the percentage of students who make targeted choices. So here's examples. One RSC goal might be to increase the percentage of all students who turn their homework in on time. Or we could go even more narrow to increase the percentage of fifth graders who have started a post-secondary savings plan, or to increase the percentage of eighth graders who have completed a four-year high school course plan, or the percentage of free and reduced 12th graders who have completed a FAFSA. These become our school counseling program goals. We do baseline data on those goals, we design and implement a program, and then we do follow-up data to see if we were able to change kids, if kids were better off because of the programming, and we're making better choices because of the programming that we put in place. So that's our goals. It's also how we do school accountability. So RSC schools hold themselves accountable for increasing the percentage of students who are making whatever those targeted choices are that you come up with. And every school focuses on something different. You're led by your local data to help you figure out where you need to go. Okay, in RSC, this is our organizational structure. We have a steering team. The steering team can just be 2 members, but most of our schools have 4 members on their steering teams. And the steering team members collect data, they facilitate discussions locally, they create the strategic plan, and then they send submissions to us, and we review those submissions against the Gold Star and RAMP criteria, as well as our own criteria. RSC schools also create a council that is a very broad-based membership council, including teachers, administrators, parents, community, and students. Big time, we bring business to the table and economic development to the table in those all of our discussions. So this council reviews student data and program data, and then they establish with you the strategic plan for the program. So they're setting the vision, the goals, the root causes, and the activities. And then some of those council members will actually become partners. They, as we go along, they'll start to say, oh, we could help you implement that. We could do that. In my program, for example, the Chamber of Commerce said, well, gosh, we could come in and do mock interviews with your seniors since you're trying to teach interviewing skills. So at that point, they become a program deliverer. This is the first part of the community-based guidance, and we call those folks partners. So even in RSC, we're starting to jump into guiding all kids a little bit by getting some partners on place to help us deliver the school counseling program. Okay, then in RSC, so during that first year, We provide webinars, although in Guiding All Kids, those will be workshops, and there will be, I think there's 6 of them instead of 8. And basically what we do in those workshops is we'll introduce the next steps in the process, we'll troubleshoot, schools will share, and we'll give you time to work. So it's a real learning community. Then the steering teams also submit submissions to us. We review them. We get you written feedback within 48 hours. And again, we're checking against everybody's standards as well as our own. And then we also actively monitor. That's what Debbie and Janet do, who are also on this call. And so they're checking to see, are things falling through the cracks? Is the team falling behind? And then we'll, if so, we nudge and, you know, we'll call and offer to help. But so we're actively monitoring. We're not just sitting back waiting for you to come to us. We're paying attention. And then you have unlimited on-call support, so that if you do have a question or you need us to re-explain something or whatever, you can get an immediate response or at least a response within 24 hours. So, okay, so that's how we develop the teams. Each of the teams, both in Guiding All Kids, but now we're talking about Redesigning School Counseling, every team will have its own customized online system. And you can see that that online system gives you each step of the process, and then there's a column where we give you tools to do that step. We give you a column where you enter the products of discussions into an online template, and then reports will appear, and then in that last column you click a button and that sends your work to us to review. So every school has a customized one of these depending on the grade levels that are in your school, and also the ways that you intend to use your strategic plan when it's finished. Okay, side benefits of RSC. This is not our goal at all, but a nice thing is that when you finish your work with us, you will have met all the requirements for the Ask a Ramp Award and the Indiana Gold Star School Counseling Award. So that will happen the first year of being involved with Guiding All Kids. Okay, so now, again, if you are a current, relatively current Gold Star school, we'll skip all that part because you already have a strategic plan. So everybody then, after they've earned the Gold Star, will come into part 2, which is the activity delivery. And this phase we're calling Guiding All Kids. Okay, so there are all these delivery methods that we'll implement in Guiding All Kids. And so the one at the top says counselor activities. That's the traditional model. Everybody's got that in place already. So we'll be adding in a teacher advisor program, academic integration, a parent-based guidance initiative, and a community-based guidance or possibly counseling initiative. And then I put that little box at the bottom that says other. There will be other delivery methods that we haven't even thought of that you'll come up with. That's why I love learning communities, because everybody gets so creative. One I can think of, one of our schools decided to do a coach-based guidance initiative, and every coach implemented guidance activities with his or her athletes. So they focused it around NCAA eligibility, and it was just really cool. So anyway, so there's other delivery methods that you'll think of that you may decide you want to implement as well. So okay, so now here's how it would work when it's all put together. So this is what will help you develop in the first year after you do Gold Star. So we'll come up with this mega plan for coordinating all of these different delivery methods together. So here's how it will work. A leadership team will sit down together, and you'll say, okay, one choice we want kids to make is to turn in their homework. So what are we going to do to help do that? And you'll explore a little bit. You'll talk with your academic teachers. You'll think about an advisory program. And so it may be that the math teachers say, we can do a little activity where we review how to take an average, and we can show the kids what a difference it makes between having an F that's 0 because you haven't turned the work in, and an F that is a 50% because you turned the work in and got half of it right. And what that 0 does to the GPA as opposed to a 50%. So, we're starting to then get the math teachers within their math curriculum to give a guidance application to the content that they're teaching so that we can get across something that we're trying to do with guidance. It may be that in the teacher advisor program that the teacher advisors teach kids how to create a homework log and start monitoring that log. It may be that the parents start to, we do an online parent program where parents are taught about activity homework logs, and then we suggest to parents that they start monitoring those homework logs on a daily basis. So yeah, so I think you can see, all 3 of these activities are going to impact this choice, but we haven't involved the counselors at all other than to get together and figure out what this overall program is going to look like and to develop the curriculum in the beginning. Yeah, so, and then afterwards, this can just sustain without the counselors. So, okay, another choice, coming to school. So maybe the teacher advisors are going to do a lesson on personal responsibility. The community is maybe there's a business that wants to provide an incentive for kids that have perfect attendance. So, so everybody's working together to do their part in how do we make the kids make this choice. Selecting activities aligned with their career interests. There's just all kinds of things that the community could do to help with that. But again, look at how many other worker bees are doing the work and not just the school counselors. That's what I love about this program. When we did this program at my school, we had 2 counselors, but we probably had, oh gosh, close to 50 worker bees that were implementing the program. I mean, it was just awesome. So, okay. So on that screen, this is like just the big picture. So in the first year of working with Guiding All Kids, we would help you design this big picture. Okay. Then also in the first year, we'd be beefing up your community activities. So basically how that would work, I'm going to back up, is we would take these choices and we're going to send them out to all the different community organizations and say, where could you do something that would help kids make this choice? And we'll give them a couple of suggestions and then let them get creative with it. So here are just some examples in different schools that I've worked with in my own school of different organizations that stepped up to the plate and the things that they did. So my Chamber of Commerce came in and did a mock interview with every single one of our seniors. The Purdue Extension Homemakers, they didn't do anything directly with kids, but they agreed in the beginning to put together a database of all the merit-based scholarship information that came across my desk. And then later they did start meeting individually with students. We created a database where they could look up to see that Jane was interested in nursing and here's a nursing scholarship, and they'd go talk to Jane and make sure that Jane knew about the nursing scholarship. I mean, stuff that I would have loved to have done and just didn't have the time to do. Just all kinds of things. Franklin College came into my school, all their admission staff, and met with every single one of my juniors individually to go over their PSAT results with them. I spent a couple of hours training the admission staff at Franklin, and then they came in and did that. I mean, it was just crazy, all the help that we got from the community. So in the first year, we'll kind of set that up. Then I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. In 4th year, we'll do academic integration. And it's the same thing. We take those student choices, we send them out to all the teachers, and we say, we don't want you to do anything new. We just want you to think about where could you give a guidance application to something that you're already teaching. And this is what teachers have come up back with, just all these different ideas. So I've already went over with you the first one. One of my favorites was keyboarding was a required class, and that teacher said that she would, if I gave her 180 little paragraphs about careers, then she would have the kids type a career paragraph for their warm-up. So there's 180 little guidance lessons embedded into the required keyboarding class. So, just all kinds of things. You may be thinking, well, I don't have time to develop 180 paragraphs. So neither did we in a normal year. But when we had that Lilly funding, we could provide stipends for people to work outside of contract time to develop those 180 paragraphs. So that's kind of how that worked. I want to jump ahead then to year 4. In year 4, the last year, we will be providing for you an online set of parent activities for them to do with their children, to provide guidance for their children. So, those activities may be things about, how to get your kids set up with a homework log. And then, the parent would learn about that, and then they would sit down with their child and develop a homework log and get that started. Or we would present to the parents about what's a career interest inventory and give them access to an online career interest inventory that they would sit down and do with their child. We teach parents how to set up a 4-year high school course plan or review the plan that their child is bringing home to them from school. So we'll have these activities developed online for parents, and that will be part of what we provide for you in Guiding All Kids. And this will be in the last year of your involvement with Guiding All Kids. And basically, it's not going to take a lot of work on your part because we're going to do all the work for you. You just have to get the word out to your parents that this is available and get them engaged. So, and then also we find that parents sometimes like to start their own initiatives. In the 2 programs at the bottom were things that my parents stepped up and started wanting to do. There was a group of parents that wanted to create parent ambassadors, so they ran with that. And then there was another group that wanted to create a community scholarship foundation, and they ran with that one. So at any rate, so later down the road, not right now, we don't need to worry about this right now, but 3 years from now, in that 4th year, we'll be working on getting the parents involved in the delivery. Okay, so now I want to go back to the 2nd year. This is something that a lot of people have trouble envisioning because it sounds like it's going to be hard to set up, and they envision a lot of resistance. But I want to assure you that we've helped a lot of schools do this across the country, especially in the southeastern states. And it will create a process and give you time to have some guided discussions that will help this be successfully implemented in your school. So on the left are some decisions that you'll need to make, and we'll help you make that in the 2nd year of Guiding All Kids. On the right are just decisions that where my school went with this. So in terms of how often to have a teacher kids meet with their advisors, we decided to do it once a week. We decided to do it for 50 minutes once a week and to put 10 to 15 students per group. That was a challenge because we didn't have enough teachers to put 10 to 15 students into a group. So we used everybody, the administrators, the counselors, the teachers, the secretaries, the media specialists. Everybody in the school had an advisor group, except for one person that manned the phone and greeted visitors during advisory period. So we got our groups as small as we could get them. You have to decide what you want your group makeup to be. Do you want it to be kids that are all similar to each other, or do you want kids who are real different to be in the same group? We decided to go with heterogeneous. So we had, in every group, we made sure we had really outstanding students, troublemakers, farmers, preps, athletes. We just had a very heterogeneous group. Grade level, we decided to just have one grade level in our grades. And that we would loop those grades. So kids would meet with the same adults and the same group of kids for all 4 years that they were in our school. And by the end of the 4th year, those kids, they were bonded to each other, they were bonded to the teacher. I knew we were successful when the seniors asked us if their advisor could be on the stage with them when they got their diploma at graduation. And that still just touches me that they felt such a connection with their advisor. So, okay, but that's how we set it up. It's not how every school set it up. Your school may decide you're only going to meet once a marking period, so just 4 times a year or 6 times a year, depending on how often your report cards come out. You may decide that you don't have 50 minutes to set aside for advisor-advisee. You're going to be limited to 20 minutes. And so you're going to design quick little guidance activities and discussions that we can have in 20 minutes. So, you know, it's when you're designing this, it's going to be different for every single school. Then, schools always ask us about the content. As we've worked with schools, we've recognized that there are 3 different types of activities that are done in advisor-advisee. One are guidance lessons, and then academic advising, and then relationship building. So in our program, we were heavy on guidance lessons because there was just so much we wanted the kids to learn, and I didn't have time to do it in the quick appointments that I had with the kids twice a year. So we dropped all of our guidance curriculum into these guidance lessons that the teachers facilitated, which meant that we had to teach the teachers and support the teachers as they implemented this. And again, because we had funding, we could provide that professional development and give people stipends and develop this curriculum and provide support groups for teachers that were being advisors. So, so this funding is really key to setting up this program, but after it's set up, then it can run with no funding at all. So, so we did guidance lessons. Our academic advising, we had each of the advisors meet individually with their 12 kids after the day or the couple days after each report card came out, and they went over the kids' report card with them, and then they sat down and did a concrete academic goal for that student, and then they monitored that goal throughout the rest of that marking period with the kid. So, and then we also, a part of our focus on advisor-advisee was to build relationships between an adult at school and kids. And so what we did with that is we made a lot of mistakes on this one, but we discovered that if we put in activities for kids to do that they could talk during, that conversations would just happen naturally. In the beginning, we tried to force those conversations, and that did not work. But so like we had hobby day, and the students brought their horses and their motorcycles and just all kinds of stuff to school to talk about their hobbies. That was so cool. We had picnics where the kids, we fed them and they went out and, or later they brought their lunches and they just went out and had picnics. And where they could talk. And we did art projects so the kids could be active with their hands, but their mouths could talk about whatever they wanted to talk about. So at any rate, so that's kind of what a teacher advisor program is all about. There is a lot of, there can be a lot of resistance from teachers to begin with because teachers are already busy. But we've learned how to get around that resistance. It's a big time. What we'll talk about in the second year of Guiding All Kids is where's that resistance going to come from. And we think resistance is healthy. And we also think that sometimes the resistors have a point and we need to listen to them because they may be right. Other times resistors are just afraid of losing something that's important to them, like control or expertise or time. And so we have to think through those things because, anytime you're going to lose something that's important to you, it's scary. So we have to think through those things and work through them before we implement the program. And again, in the second year, we'll big time help you do that. Okay, so here's some assumptions that we're making. The assumption that we're making is that for Guiding All Kids, you are only going to have funding for 4 years. And this will need to sustain with no funding after that 4-year period. We're assuming that educators are not going to have time during the day to develop Guiding All Kids. They already have a full-time job during the day. We're not going to ignore their full-time job to do this, to develop this initiative. It just can't happen during the day. during regular contract hours. So we are assuming that most schools that are participating in Guiding All Kids will be paying educators for the time that they spend outside of contract hours to develop this initiative. So, so that means that they'd be paying a stipend to teachers or counselors to develop this initiative. We've been saying it's kind of like having a part-time job, or it's kind of like having an extracurricular assignment. We pay teachers to be basketball coaches after school. We would just be paying the counselors or teachers to be program developers after school, just like you're an independent contractor that, you know, we're hiring to develop this program. A lot of times when I'm talking to counselors, that the counselors are so generous with their time that this feels selfish to take money for doing this work. But hey, if we can pay basketball coaches for coaching, we can certainly pay counselors to do program development outside of school hours. If we don't, we're forcing them to do it inside school hours, and the programs will suffer. So yeah, we think it's really important to pay people these stipends. And then also, we believe and we know from experience that Guiding All Kids is going to be highly sustainable after a 4-year grant period, because none of the initiatives after 4 years will be funding dependent. They will be developed, the people will be developed, everything will be ready to go and can just sustain without additional funding. Okay, now let's get down to some of the logistics. So in Guiding All Kids in those years, so after RSC, we'll look at your steering team, and now we need to configure your steering team a little differently. Instead of 2 people, we need to start bringing in folks that will coordinate different parts of this initiative. So there will be an overall program manager. Their job's really easy. All they have to do is convene meetings. Then there will be a counseling program coordinator. That's probably going to be the lead counselor in your school. There will be a TAP coordinator, a community-based guidance coordinator, an academic integration coordinator, and a parent-based guidance coordinator. So these people will make up the steering team. And you'll see that their main job is to just recruit others like them to help deliver the different initiatives, to provide professional development for those folks, and to evaluate their section of the initiative and make in-flight adjustments if needed. And again, I'll get to our deliverables in a second, but we'll provide each of those coordinators everything they need, all the assistance, all the materials, everything they need to do their work. We'd also would suggest that each of these people have a stipend so that they can be paid for the work that they're doing outside of their regular jobs to make this happen. Okay, here's how we're going to develop those people. We'll have workshops. These are going to be face-to-face learning communities. They will not be webinars. The reason we do webinars is because people can't afford to come to workshops. But now that we have funding, workshops are hugely better in our experience than webinars, because we can really work team to team as well as our staff to team. So imagine that you've come to one of those workshops. Here's what would happen. There would be teams from probably 10, 12 different schools there. The room will be set up so that in the middle of the room there's a round table for each team. And then the first thing we would do is we'd say, okay, everybody bring your chairs and let's make a great big circle. And so we'd have, 70 people in one great big circle. And one at a time, each school would give a very short report about how things are going in their schools. So they talk about what's going well, what their challenges are. And as needed, we would brainstorm if we needed to help a school figure out a way around a hurdle. That brainstorming would be happening with all 12 schools, not just with our staff, but it would be school to school, because really what happens is that we think that one school is not successful unless all 12 schools are successful, so we're really helping each other. Then everybody pick up their chairs. We go back to roundtables, and our staff will do a quick presentation on what the next steps are in the process. But we're also going to focus now, because we have more time and everybody's face-to-face, on the change process itself. So we'll talk about the stages of group development. We'll talk about where does resistance come from. We want to end up with folks being really good leaders, really good change makers, in addition to just people that, care about school counseling and guiding kids. So, so that will be a quick presentation, and then we'll feed everybody, so we'll serve lunch. And then in the afternoon, before you go home, we'll have unstructured team time where you can do whatever you want. So the teams all convene there, and what most teams will do is they'll talk about, okay, how are we going to do the next steps once we get back to school, who's going to do what, and they get all organized. Or the team might say, ooh, we've got some resistance coming up, and they'll come up with a resistance plan to address that as soon as they get back. Okay, so those are the workshops. We've used that model and refined that model since our organization started. It is just so nice that there's some funding available finally so that we can go back to workshops instead of webinars. Not that there's anything bad with webinars, but it's just workshops are a million times better. Okay, so then occasionally teams will submit reviews to us, but this is going to be very different than redesigning school counseling. In RSC, there were a lot of submissions because we had to verify everything for Gold Star and RAMP. In Guiding All Kids, we don't know where you're actually going to go with this process, so there's no way to put like rubric items on it. There will be very few submissions with Guiding All Kids because there's nothing really for us to check. We're just talking with you and brainstorming. Instead, we'll have you turn in one-page quarterly summaries. We'll ask you to set that up like a newspaper, a page of a newspaper, and then we'll just put all those together and create the GAC Times so that we can distribute that and schools can read about other schools. Okay, active monitoring will continue and unlimited on-call support will continue. Okay, then in terms of the organizational structure, there are other people that will be involved besides the leadership team. There'll be teacher advisor program grade level coordinators. And these people may also be steering team members that have taken on a second role here. That's fine. Their job is to develop curriculum, to provide support for advisors when they first start doing TAP, and then to mentor, to provide on-call mentoring for advisors. Teacher advisor programs really take a lot of teachers out of their comfort zone. They're not used to talking to kids. They're just used to teaching their academic content. And that early support we have found is really important. But again, we'll get that all coordinated. We'll give the grade level coordinators everything they need, including a curriculum. So we will be providing for you 9 lesson plans for each year that the kids are in your building. And your TAP grade level coordinators can just use those lesson plans if they want, or they can develop their own. We'll also provide a huge database of lessons that schools have shared school to school. So, so all that will be available. And then the other 2 folks, which again could be steering team members, are a data collection coordinator and a documentation coordinator. So, and again, we'll provide those people with everything that they need and support. Okay, so really quickly, here are our deliverables. So we will be providing for you the whole framework, the leadership team support, the online management system, the student guidance curriculum that your teacher advisor program could use, parent activities that your parent-based guidance initiative can use. We'll provide training modules for folks that are non-counselors, your advisors and your community members. We need to teach them active listening skills, but especially the limits of confidentiality. We don't want your school to get into a situation where confidentiality should have been broken because of abuse or neglect or whatever, and it wasn't. So we want to make sure that your advisors and your community members understand those limits. We'll also provide these searchable guidance activity databases. You know, we have thousands of guidance activities now in our database. We'll provide evaluation tools, communication tools to make it easy for you to send emails to targeted student groups or to your council or to your partners. And then also we'll be providing district level coordination. That will come in the form of webinars. Before every workshop, there will be a district level webinar where we clue in your district folks about what's about to happen and give them the opportunity, if they want it, to have a voice before we meet with the schools or after we meet with the schools, we'll give the district people a way to look at aggregated data and aggregated programming reports for all the schools in their district. So that's kind of an add-on. If your district folks want to be involved, that will be available. Okay, here's our enrollment fee. So as you can imagine, with all those deliverables, this gets kind of expensive. So especially bringing people to workshops where we're feeding them, and you have room space to rent and all that. This gets kind of pricey. Also, our level of tech support goes up considerably over what it's been with RSC. That's why this is only open. We're only doing Guiding All Kids with a small number of schools. This is not something that we're trying to go statewide with, because we want to make sure that we are providing a high level of tech support. So it's time intensive on our part. So there's the fee. Basically, if you have already done the Redesigning School Counseling and Gold Star, that would reduce the fee to $7,500 per year. For all those workshops and the online system, the surveys, the everything. And then that would total then $30,000 for the 4 years. And then if you've never done RSC Gold Star or you're set to renew, then that amount would need to go to $9,000 per year, mainly because we have a few extra meetings, or $36,000 for the 4 years. Now, if you're in, and I should add that these fees are just covering our costs. It's just expensive to do this kind of professional development, which Lily knows, because this is why they made those dollar amounts so big. They understand how expensive this kind of support is. Then also, if there are more than 12 schools in your district that are applying for Guiding All Kids, we can do some special pricing because of economies of scale. So if there are more than 12 schools in your district, give us a call, and give me a call. Have somebody from your district call me, and I will we'll work out a special fee for them. Okay, here's the timeline. Just winding down here. So the application for Guiding All Kids is now available. I'll show you that in a sec. We're participating in the last of 3 webinars right now. The application is due in just a couple of days, but it's a really easy application. It'll take you 5 minutes to do. On the 28th, so this Friday, we'll let your schools know if they've been accepted. And then on May 4th, if your school has been accepted, your grant writer for the Lilly grant is invited to come to a workshop where we will talk about how to embed Guiding All Kids into the Lilly grant application. So we'll go over that. Also, we'll give your grant writers some tips from our perspective to help them write an application that Lilly accepts. So, okay, so then the next steps are that your grant writer will turn in your grant to Lilly by May 19th. Lilly will let you know if you've been awarded on September 30th. And then, if you are accepted, if you get the Lilly funding, then no problem, you're in Guiding All Kids and we're all set. If you don't get the Lilly funding, we would like to have you still be involved in Guiding All Kids, because it obviously was important to you or you wouldn't have applied. And so we'll spend 2 weeks helping you to find other funding sources. It may be that we take those funds and we split it up between 2 or 3 major companies in your district, and we go approach them for funding, or we talk to your community foundation or to your economic development council, or somehow we'll work really hard to get that a promise for that funding. And then, if not, this is risk-free. If on October 16th you applied for the Lilly funding and you didn't get it, as long as it happens before October 16th, you can just withdraw from Guiding All Kids and not have any obligation to pay us for services. So, but if you don't apply for the Lilly and apply for GAC, you still need to pay us. And of course, if you apply for Lilly and get it, then you're obligated to pay us. So, but if you don't get the funding, no obligation. Okay, so let's look at the application, then we'll close. So the application is online. The website is asainstitute.org, so it's our website, and then /GAK, Guiding All Kids. And you just simply click on the application tab on the left-hand side, and let me go to what you'll see. So you click on that, and oops, let me open up that website. So www.asainstitute.org/guidingallkids, GAK. And I'm going to click on the application, and here's how simple the application is. You're just going to put in, whoever's filling it out, put in your name, who's the contact at the person, and then who's the contact person at the school, and then their information. We do want a really quick principal statement that just lets us know that your principal is aware of what Guiding All Kids is and feels like it's a good fit for the school. So this is just our way of knowing that your principal is in agreement with what you're doing. So we're asking you, are you applying for the Lilly money? Are all schools in your district applying for Guiding All Kids? Yes, no, I don't know. And then assurances, the biggest assurances, I have read the Memorandum of Understanding below, and then you understand what happens if you don't get the Lilly funding. And finally, that you have the authority to apply to submit this application on behalf of your school. Billing contact, and then here's what I really wanted to just spend a second on. The Memorandum of Understanding, this is like our contract. We think that if we don't follow through, we've wasted your time. If you don't follow through, you've wasted our time. And worse yet, we've accepted your application and maybe turned away another school that would have been great because we took you. And if you don't follow through, then we could have had another school that might have. So basically, this Memorandum of Understanding is saying, here's what we're going to do. And it lists all of the deliverables that we promise you, and this serves as a contract that we'll do. And then here's the school agreement. And in this section, please read this carefully. This is assuring us what you agreed to do. Yeah, just read through that. And if there's anything in there that you find bothersome, just send us an email and we can kind of talk that through. You'll learn, if you don't know us already, we're very flexible with things when it makes sense. And then just hit the submit button and then you're in. So really, it'll take you 2 seconds to do that. It is important that you apply by April 27th. And again, if we, I'm assuming we're going to fill on by April 27th. If we get more applications than we have the capacity to handle, it'll be first come, first serve. We'll give preference to schools that have been through Guiding All Kids, been through Redesigning School Counseling and have Gold Star, and preference to schools where every school in the district is coming in. Yeah, just get those applications in as soon as you can. We already have a good number of applications in, but we have not filled yet. So my advice to you, if you're interested in this, would be to just apply as soon as possible. So, okay, let's take questions. I've kind of rambled on, and I'm sorry we're over that 1 hour. Debbie, questions that have come in?
No
or
questions.
If you have a question, now would be the time. So I'll pause for a minute to see if any of you would like to type in some questions or raise your hand, and we can just take a question out loud. Yeah, so let's see what questions people have. And I don't know what it's like in your part of the state, but I'm looking out my window in Bloomington, and it is absolutely gorgeous outside. So I do a little bit of running, and this may be after work and go outside and run a little bit at night. So wait a few more minutes, seconds. So Debbie?
I don't see any questions.
Okay. Well, let me go to that last screen then, which has our contact information on it. So here's how to get a hold of us. You can send an email to asai@asainstitute.org. There's our phone number. So, and feel free, if there's somebody else at your district that you need us to talk to, or you'd like us to talk to, like there was one counselor in a district where I think everybody may come into Guiding All Kids that said that they asked if we would do a quick webinar with all the counselors in her district, and so they got them all together and we did a quick webinar with them. Another place wanted me to talk with their superintendent, and so we did that kind of phone call. So if there's someone else that you need to talk with about Guiding All Kids, you can show, this will be up on that Guiding All Kids website, this video that we're doing right now. Or feel free to call us. There's also an overview of Guiding All Kids on that Guiding All Kids website. But yeah, just feel free to ask us for whatever you need. I know that that's a lot of funding to commit to an initiative. I hope you can see why it's worth it. But if you have questions, please don't hesitate to contact us.
Okay.
So Debbie, let's check.
Yep, I have 2 questions from Jenny.
Okay. Thanks, Jenny.
Is the $36,000 for an entire district cost if all schools want to participate?
No, it's a $36,000 per. Remember, this is over 4 years, so it's $36,000 per school. So, and then if there are more than 12 schools participating, then we can do a discount. So it's actually per school, and that again is why this Lilly initiative, why these dollars are so big. Keep in mind that this is, so I think sometimes it's hard to fathom these larger dollar amounts, because a lot of times in schools we haven't had a lot of money, and so we've kind of piecemealed everything. We've had, we've spent a couple thousand for this program, or a couple hundred for this this material. But this is designing an entire system. So you're getting, the professional, you're getting 5 different initiatives. So let's think of it that way. You're getting 5 different initiatives. There's the counselor initiative, there's the teacher advisor program, the community-based guidance, the academic integration, and the parent-based guidance. You're getting 2 complete sets of curricula. You're getting all the professional development for the non-counselors. You're getting a series of workshops that will happen, so it's ongoing support. This is really comprehensive. We're creating an entire system. And initiatives that are like that come with this price tag. Actually, we are normally, when we're bidding for work, we come in much, much lower than other providers, because of our economy of scale, because we work, our preferred professional development model is to work with cohorts. And that allows us to split our costs among all 12 schools that have come to be in that cohort. And then also we use technology so efficiently. So we don't have to, drive to your school to look at work. You'll submit it to us electronically. So, if you were to ask somebody else to create a bid for this work, I can guarantee you that it would come out much higher than what we're providing. So you kind of think about it in that realm, that we're creating a whole system over multiple years. It's really different than just adding on another program. So, and as we've helped schools with writing their Lilly grants, one of the things that we think are, one of the issues that I'm starting to see is a lot of schools, a lot of districts that have just collected a lot of unrelated activities into their grant application. And, I think that if a funder is seeing just a hodgepodge of add-on activities, I'm not sure that that's going to come across well. At least if I were the funder, it would not. I'd be looking for something that was new and systemic and foundational in the amount of funding that I was offering to schools and districts. So at any rate, you asked a question that I could have answered probably in 2 syllables, but I wanted you to understand why it's that expensive, because I know for a counselor, my budget when I was a counselor was 56 cents per student. So when I got this Lilly grant, years ago, when I did this, we had the same amount of funding, and it was just, thought, oh my gosh, but yeah, I understand why this sounds so big. So Debbie, another question? I think there were 2 questions from Jenny.
Actually, she said, she was just explaining it's because they have a small district, only 3 buildings, elementary, middle, and high school, but she says thank you, and she really appreciates the explanation. She said it looks like a great approach.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, and thanks for the question. And really, any of those questions that come up, don't hesitate. I'm happy to explain what we do. We hold so we determine if we're successful based on whether or not your students are making different choices. So when we're evaluating ourselves, we love to hear people say good things about us, but what we're really looking at is that student data. And because of that, we have to be partners with you. And so these questions that you have, the concerns that come up, we really like it when you ask, what's going on, or why did you do it this way, or whatever. We should always, and we always will, come up with an explanation for you that explains our thinking. And one other thing, again, I'm trying to get long-winded, but that's also how we improve, because when schools say, why did you do it this way? It gives us a chance to think about, well, how would you have done it? And then we get to have that conversation. It's why I think our nonprofit has been around for 20 years, because we're a learning organization. We learn from the schools that we serve. So, okay. I think with that, Debbie, any other questions before we close?
Nope, that's it. Thanks.
Okay. So thank you very much, everyone. I hope you get to go out and enjoy a nice day, and good luck to you as you wind down your school year and as you start to develop or further develop your Lilly implementation grant application. Thanks so much, everyone.